Hey, welcome to ARC 101. I'm Tanner.
I'm Tucker.
And I'm Andrew.
And we're your three hosts. We decided to start trying a podcast that kind of just showed people into the life of either an architecture student and studio life. So this podcast is for either students looking into going into architecture, people who are already in architecture, or just interested in it in general. Even for the professionals out there who are wanting to get a glimpse into what studio life is like now from when they were in, or just kind of reminisce of what studio life is like. And then we're going to do some more things along with that. Anything else?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about all those things, as well as just like architecture in general, like, you know, our thoughts on maybe different projects that we're looking at, or you know, some opinions that we might have as well. You know, so we'll be looking at things outside of studio as well. That maybe was brought up in a daily conversation sometime, or like, you know, something that we're interested in that we want to talk more about.
Yep.
Andrew, you have anything more to add?
Yeah, don't be surprised if we go on a half-hour rant about toilets.
Yeah, that's true. Andrew, funny story. Andrew and I did that on the way up to Grand Forks to the Parrots Cay one day.
How did that happen?
Well, so we were talking about, you know, the whole you know, being inclusive on genders with bathrooms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so we were just talking about toilets and like how we would like maybe accommodate that in the future, like what would be the best way to kind of include everybody, you know, in that. And we just tossed around so many different ideas. We're like, nah, just be best to have like, you know, men's, women's, and family or whatever, you know.
After your half hour of trying to solve
right, after we're just like, nothing's gonna work because, you know, what would you say, Andrew?
Yeah, we just kind of went back right to pretty much where we're at, right?
Yep.
We got because majority of the people I think are going to be in that men's or women's category, and then, you know, to accommodate those who don't identify that that gender neutral bathroom or that family bathroom, you know, maybe it's just needed to be renamed to a gender neutral bathroom instead of a family bathroom.
Yeah, maybe it's just a name change that we need.
Yep.
And I think that would honestly, I mean, in my opinion, would make it at least a little bit better. You know, have it just a gender neutral specific bathroom if whoever it is isn't comfortable with going in either of the other ones. So,
well, something as simple as that would make someone feel so included and like instead of excluded. I'm sure with something as simple as that name change is a game changer.
Yeah, because the problem that we ran into is like we're trying to include, you know, whichever gender into this bathroom situation, but there's so many different factors that you have to think about when it comes to that.
Yes.
So that's an example of a random conversation that we have that doesn't necessarily have to do with architecture, but in a way it could.
It's design and it's consideration to the public, right? And like that's what architecture is about.
Exactly.
I thought you guys went a completely different way with that.
I mean, we could just talk about like toilet models for an hour as well, I believe.
Yeah.
Andrew and I are weird like that, where we can literally ramble on about anything that we come up with.
Still, that's completely different route than what I thought you guys were talking about.
Yeah,
I thought you like toilet or like bad bathroom stories, like situations, which I'm like, dude, I've got like 30 of those. I could like start every podcast.
The bad toilet story.
We can start every podcast with toilet talk.
Yeah, toilet talk.
Do you want me to give you one quick story of what I did that's just hilarious?
Let's do it.
Okay.
It's my favorite. Bad, we'll cut it out later.
Yeah, it's my favorite bathroom story. So,
oh God, all right.
My buddy and I were in the mall in high school. Had to use the bathroom. Went into Macy's, right? That's where you'd go. So he's already in there. I go in and I sit in at the stall, and the urinal is literally like right on the other side of where the stall is, right? And so he's sitting there. He's standing there peeing, and I'm at the stall. And I don't know, when I went to high school, for some reason, it was a cool thing to take pictures of your poop after it was a good poop.
I remember that. It wasn't cool. It was just funny to send to your friends because you knew it was gross.
Yes, that's a better way. It wasn't cool.
Yeah.
So I had a great poop, I guess, and I took a picture, and And I grab my phone and go, Dustin, check this out. And I put my hand under the stall right between his legs. And I look, I go, those aren't Dustin's shoes. And put my hand back. And my buddy is at the sink washing his hands. And he said the guy literally looks down and just has the most disgusted face. And he looks down, looks over at Dustin. And my buddy just like leaves the room and just busts out laughing. And I'm just like in the stall.
So funny.
Just like, I can't leave until I hear this guy leave. Yeah.
That is. That's so embarrassing.
I wasn't embarrassed because he didn't see who I was, but I'm sure my buddy was, and I'm sure he felt
Made
pretty
sure
awkward.
to stay in the stall until he left.
Yeah.
That's hilarious, man.
So that's the route I thought you guys were gonna go, which I'm like, I'm there.
Oh, bathroom stories.
Yeah.
Sure. No, we were literally talking about toilets.
Okay,
Pretty much.
makes sense.
I had one. I was sitting in the stall, and this little kid comes up, and he sticks his eye like right in the crack of that. Like
Yes.
in between. Yeah, he sticks his eye like right in there, and he's looking at me.
Oh no.
And I'm
That's
sitting there
so
like,
weird.
dude, what the hell? Go
Bruh.
away, kid.
I had that
It's like a
same thing
little
happen
kid?
to me.
Yeah, he was probably like 5.
Is this like recent or?
No, this was a while ago.
Oh, okay.
I had that happen
Still
to me
weird.
when I was in middle school. I
Oh,
was at Space Aliens, and some kid was like looking through. Except I got mad, so I smacked the door, and the kid like jumped back, and the door flung open, and I closed it back.
I had friends in high school that like some of our stalls were broken, so they just open it and then leave.
Oh,
Like seriously, man. So I'd like get
you
up,
suck.
or like they were far enough away where I couldn't like kick it closed or anything.
I had
Sometimes I'd just like sit there like this, just with my hand on the door to make sure nobody did anything.
one more quick one that reminded me.
We're getting a little bit off.
We are. We
but-
said we'll go on, like we can go on tangents.
Yeah, it's toilet talk.
Yeah, this is our segment called Toilet Talk. Just for those of you who are wondering, I was at Who Hot, and
Oh, jeez.
we were on a double date, my wife and I, and a couple of our friends, and
Better.
I was in the bathroom. I was in there for a while, too long, because apparently the motion sensor in the bathroom couldn't sense me
Oh
anymore.
no!
And so it turns
Hey!
off, and I'm like trying to move my arms and flail about in the stall to get the sensor light to turn back on because it's just pitch black.
Yeah.
It won't turn on for anything. I'm like, crap. So I text my buddy who's out there. I'm like, can you come in here so the light turns back on?
Hey, I mean, honestly, like a nice poop in the dark doesn't sound bad to me.
Well, yeah, until you need to leave.
Once you're done, when you stand up, they'll turn back on, right?
I suppose. But so I got to the point where all of a sudden someone opens the door and the light turns back on. And I realize it's not my buddy. So it's these two guys that are in there and they're like chatting and stuff. And because the light was off, they have no idea that anyone was in the bathroom. So I'm
Oh,
like,
no.
and I had to sneeze so bad. So I sneezed and they were like, oh my gosh. I just freaked out and jumped. They had no idea that anyone was in
That's
there.
funny.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, someone's in here.
So again, I
Like,
couldn't.
sorry, guys.
Excuse me.
The conversation wasn't that weird, I promise.
Yeah, it was awkward.
Anyways,
Okay.
well, we should do some backstories
Yeah, that sounds good.
of how we got to where we're at right now, because I know each one of us, it was kind of a long road until we figured out we wanted to do architecture and actually join the architecture program. So for anybody that doesn't know, we're all pretty old for being in the program for at least like a third year student. But
Yeah, I mean, I'm bald, so
yeah. Tanner, why don't you start? We'll go oldest to youngest here.
Oh, see how it is. Save the best for first. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. So for me, after I graduated high school in 2009, and I just
Where are you from?
so I'm from Bismarck, North Dakota. I went to high school there, originally from Grand Forks, North Dakota, but yeah, I went to high school in Bismarck, North Dakota, and when I graduated, all throughout high school, I knew that I wanted to, be in architecture. but I just wasn't a good student. I could care less about school.
Yeah.
So I was like, if I go into architecture,
I
there's like so much
understand that.
math. Like that's what everyone said. Like there's too much math. If you don't like math, don't go into architecture.
Honestly, depends on where you go to.
And that's exactly it. Like because at NDSU, North Dakota State University, in Fargo, that's not the case. At least it hasn't been for us.
Mhm.
But that scared me away from architecture.
Right.
So I was like, well, I'll just start working. So I worked in sales for 10 years. So I was in electrical sales for 7 years and then car sales for 3 years. During that time, I met my now wife, and we got married in 2015. And we have and we have a golden retriever named Monty.
We love Shanna and Monty, by the way. They're
Yeah.
both amazing.
Yeah, they're my favorite.
They're
And
our favorite too.
hey, what am I?
Second favorite.
Yeah.
I'll take it. It's understandable. I'm up against Shanna, so
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
yeah. So we have a house. We live in Grand Forks, and when I was in car sales, I got to a point where I was just like, I really like, and nothing against car salesmen and car salespeople out there. It was really fun. I loved it, but for me, I was just like, I don't want to be a car salesperson for the rest of my life. And my wife challenged me to kind of like think more about, what would you really want to do? And I was so close off to school because I'm like, I'm debt free. We're
Yep.
married. I don't want to
Yep.
bring more debt. And she's like, just let yourself dream. So I did. And I landed on architecture. And so we decided to make it work. And I got into the architecture program in 2018? Yeah, 2018. And so,
Is it really 28? Jeez.
yeah, I know,
Yeah.
right? I can't believe that. Yeah. So, yeah,
All right.
2018. And then, yeah, been doing that since then. It's been awesome. I commute an hour back and forth until all this COVID stuff happened. And actually, it works out well for me because I can work from
Makes
home.
it a little bit easier for you.
Yeah,
then.
it does.
Man, you're commuting last year. He would come to class every day, drive from Grand Forks, which is at least 45-minute drive.
It's hour drive.
Yeah.
That's an hour.
And I'm just like, dude, I live 2 blocks away and I can barely get out of my house and come here. Like,
I'll tell you what, like crunch time, the like last week before a project was due,
yeah.
I would like sleep in studio. I think our first project we had in our second year, I
Yeah.
got, was it 5 or 7 hours of sleep in 5 days total.
Wow.
I couldn't.
Sounds about right, though.
Yeah, I couldn't remember my code for my garage. I had to
Yeah.
call my wife and be like, "What's
Oh.
our code?" I'm too tired to remember.
Jeez.
That
Yeah.
first project, yeah, I mean, I spent a lot of time on the model. That's what really
Mhm.
kept me up that last week. But
Yeah, so that's me. That's
so
my story.
architecture so far.
Like what I think of it so far.
Yeah.
I love it. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't change it for anything. Best decision I made other than marrying Shanna.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Best
that
career
was
move.
by far the best decision
Yes.
you ever made.
For sure the best career move I've ever made. It was scary at first because I'm like, at the time I was 28 years old. And I'm like, man, can I go back to school? Go to school for the first time at 28? Like
Yep.
it's, I'm too old. It just doesn't work. And I had a buddy who went to school to be an anesthesiologist at 38. So he's like, if I can do that, you can do this. And yeah, and for me, it's such a different outlook.
You're 30 now, right?
30 now. Yeah, I turned
Yep.
31 in March.
Yep.
And yeah, like it's a completely different perspective being older and being, married, having a family. I look at it more like a career, and so it's just like I'm very driven by that.
Right.
But I love architecture school, and it's been really, really fun. Great professors, great classmates, and like creating awesome friendships from it.
Yeah.
And this this year, going into junior year, it's crazy.
Yeah, I agree.
It is,
Definitely ramping up.
yeah, big time.
So
Yeah,
but,
so yeah, don't regret it at all. If anyone is on the fence whether or not to do it, I'd say go for it.
yeah, definitely. I would totally agree with him on that.
Yep.
All right, Andrew, why don't you give a little bit of your story then?
Yeah, second oldest.
Second oldest.
And Andrew, how old are you?
I am. Shit. How old am I? 27. That's how old I am.
How did that take you that long?
I
I already knew it before I even asked the question.
I don't keep track of that.
All right, Andrew's
anymore.
27.
Good to know.
You were 25 when you started the program, correct?
Correct. Yep.
So Tanner was 28.
Yeah.
Andrew was 25.
Yep.
And I was
So-
23 when we started.
I graduated high school in 2011. I went to the University of North Dakota in Grand Forks for 6 years and got a 4-year bachelor degree. I switched my majors. I switched my major probably 6 or 7 times while I was there. Started out chemical engineering, and that lasted about 2 weeks, and then switched to mechanical engineering, which lasted about another 2 weeks. And then I jumped around from criminal justice to physical education to general studies, and then I finally landed on industrial technology. And industrial
That is.
technology is like process engineering. We're not engineers, but it's a derivative of it.
Sure.
So yeah, I was educated to think about how things go through their process, and I can talk later about how that translates into architecture. But when I chose industrial technology, I really wanted to go an architecture route, whether it was architecture itself or architectural drafting.
Not
I
landscape.
was not landscape. Nope. No
Who wants to do
landscape for me.
landscape?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Landscape architects are great.
Yeah, we've got plenty of friends. We just don't talk to them.
need you guys.
We need
you
landscape
guys.
architects. Don't get me wrong. You guys do great work.
Yes.
I just would rather not be a landscape architect.
It's
Yeah.
not my calling. I'm not
Yeah.
good at it.
It's not my
Not
call.
my call. Yeah.
I think I could be decent at it, but I just like
Yeah.
designing
All the respect for you
structures
guys.
more.
'cause,
So
Yeah, I can't do it.
I know it's a lot of
Absolutely.
hard work because I know plenty of landscape architects. So
Shut up, Billy.
yeah,
So
maybe we'll have them on someday.
I was in a relationship that was in Grand Forks. She needed to be there. That ended, and I got the opportunity to move to Fargo and take on architecture, and so I did. I in between graduating from UND and going to NDSU, I worked for an engineering firm in Grand Forks, and I did a lot of construction observation and inspection. The engineering firm's kind of main focus was for septic waste infrastructure. So a lot of laying pipe in the
So
ground.
toilets.
Toilets, basically.
Yeah.
That's how we know so much about
my
toilets.
life revolves around poop.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's how I got to architecture. It was kind of a really crappy situation, but turned it
No
into
pun
a
intended,
good.
right?
Yeah, right. There it is again.
Sorry,
yeah.
there's just so many.
It's so easy.
It's so easy.
I was
Yeah.
thinking it.
Yeah.
Crappy situation that turned into a good opportunity, and
Yep.
you know, I went through a lot of crap through that, that relationship, and looking back now and what I've got now and where I'm at now, I don't think I would change a thing.
That's
Good.
good.
Friends like you guys, and
Thank you.
doing what I love with architecture.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think I would
And
change a thing.
how's your experience with the program been so far?
Well, we're not going to call anybody out here,
No, because we're not
No.
doing that. We
Yeah.
talked about
but
this.
but
Strict
if
regular.
if she's listening, she knows who she is. It
we
was
do.
really it's really good. I absolutely love the architecture program. I love the professors. except for the one that told me that I should
For the
think
most
about
part.
construction management.
They're honestly all great, and they have
Yeah.
no matter who it is, like you're gonna butt heads with people. That's just how it is, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah. You're
know,
not gonna love everybody, and
right.
everybody's not gonna love you. But
Not saying like she's definitely qualified for the job she's doing. There's just
absolutely, she
some
is.
differences, you know, opinionated differences.
Yep.
I think mostly for you it was creatively, wasn't it?
Right.
sure.
Yeah. She
Andrew just has a different way of thinking of things and doing things, and she didn't necessarily agree with it. So
Yeah.
that's
And
where that was.
Just to warn you, as soon as Andrew says it, we're gonna get a lot of backlash. He just will. But go ahead and say it.
She told me that I should go into construction management, and I don't know, that was just not like, it wasn't really her place. I wasn't asking for her advice. I didn't ask
On
her
career
On career choices.
Yeah.
on career
But
choices.
she did that with a
A
few
lot
people.
of people.
I
She did,
honestly
yeah.
think she should have, but
Yeah.
Yeah, it just
that's
wasn't
neither
her
here nor
place.
there. They're all still in the architecture program, and I think they should
Yeah.
still be. So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know,
I
again, it's an opinion thing.
We all have different strengths, right?
and
It's fine.
honestly,
I
if
never had a
that's
problem with her personally because she was fine with me. But
Same.
if that's the only problem that I run into in the architecture program, I think we're doing really well.
oh, definitely,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
definitely, yeah. And it wasn't really even that big of a problem. It was just kind of a
Yeah. It's just
really. It's like, why are you
creative
doing that?
process.
Right.
yeah.
But anyways,
So go ahead, Tucker.
oh yeah, it's my turn now. Well, I'm from Fargo, North Dakota. Here, born and raised. I graduated in 2014, and I actually joined the Air National Guard. And so I took a year after high school to do all of my training for that. Came back. I started at NDSU. I started with business administration actually my first year. Decided that wasn't necessarily for me because I did a few of those classes. I'm like, this is just going to be boring for me. I mean, like both of my parents, they both work at Microsoft, business people, whatever. They love their jobs, and I honestly could see why they love their jobs. And if I did stick out with business, I could probably definitely find something that I would like. But at the time, I was like, nah. And then second year, I actually did elementary education because I was recommended to do that by a lot of my family members because I'm so good with children. And
All the
that's
girls that are listening go, oh.
yeah, right. Yeah, no, that
Weird flex, but okay.
right. Weird. Yeah, no. But that sat fine with me for the year that I did it. And you know, I was thinking about going into special education because my uncle is mentally handicapped, and I kind of was a little more drawn to that side of it. So, and after that second year, I actually got deployed. So I took that next year off as well. I was gone for 7-8 months total. Got back in January, February of 2018. And then I actually started working at an elementary school here in West Fargo, and did that for a couple months as a special education para substitute, a long-term substitute, because the lady I was replacing had just had a baby, so she was on maternity leave, and so it was a weird job opportunity that I got because I never thought I was going to get that job. I had no experience. 1 year in the in the teaching program at NDSU, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to get this job. I'm just going to apply for it anyway. And somehow I got it. I was like, okay. I was like, are you sure? Like, I've like never worked with kids at a school, so like we don't know how this is going to go. It went fine, and I did like it. I loved all my coworkers. You know, I still love kids. It didn't scare me away. I just yeah, at the time I just realized I was like, you know, I love kids. Like, this is a good job, but this isn't really what I want to do for the rest of my life. I was like, I don't want to go to school, teach kids, deal with kids, come back home, deal with my own kids. Like, teaching is a hard profession, like, and you got to be a certain type of person to be able to do that. Like
For
Shanna's
sure.
a teacher,
Yeah,
and
third grade.
yeah, and I worked with all grades, so
And like I've like when I was working in at the car dealership in sales,
yeah.
I would come and like teach like a class on like local business and different things for the students. It was through uh, the school district. They had like a program they
sure.
could do,
That's cool.
and so I would teach like for a month. So I go like once or twice a week, and man, yeah, like even that little bit, it was fun. The kids are awesome,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Mr. Trozen and stuff, and like there's
Yeah.
but man, I don't know how teachers can do that all day. Other than,
Mhm.
you know, PE teachers, you got it made.
Right.
But
Honestly, like the biggest thing is establishing authority. That is because right off the bat, I had none. Like I was coming in as a substitute. I was a lot younger. I was 22 at the time. I was coming in, I was young. All these kids, like I'm obviously friendly. I do well with kids, so they all just thought I was someone fun to talk to or play with or whatever. And it was a little hard. Later on, while I was there, I started establishing it a little bit more, and they finally started to respect me. And a couple of teachers had to talk to their students, be like, "Hey, he's a teacher. Like, don't forget that. Like, he's the
but
same
he's
as me."
playing with our Legos.
Yeah, right. No, but and if I would have chosen elementary, I think I would have been fine with it, and I would have been good.
Yeah.
But I just knew that there was still something in there. And so I'd actually always been interested in architecture since I was like 10. I actually got to visit the Frank Lloyd Wright School out in Arizona. And that's kind of where it sparked my interest. First time, their senior year, they go out and they literally design like a hut and live in it for like a semester.
Really?
I'm like, that is insane. So like, there's so many different things you have to consider because it's like you living in this place.
Yeah.
So you got to make all these design decisions, to accommodate for like, what you'll need and everything like that. And I thought that was pretty crazy. And Frank Lloyd Wright has amazing designs. So I saw all of those. And yeah, no, it was crazy. And so ever since then, I've been interested in architecture. And I actually didn't do it right away because I was kind of on Tanner's boat where I'm like, I'm not smart enough, And at the time, I've always been a decent student, but I've never really been that great at school. So my first 2 years of school in college was actually not good at all. And so I was kind of tanking it a little bit. And so it actually took quite a bit of effort on my part when I did start architecture to really jack up my GPA again. And thankfully, I made it high enough to where I could actually make it into the program the first time. So that's what I was worried about. So my first year, I had a 4.
Nice.
Not including the 2 years before. That year was a 4.0. I think I was at like either a 3.0 or a 3.1 accumulative by the end of the first year, and I was just amazed that I actually made it there.
Well, and like I don't know what other architecture schools are like, but at NDSU, it's a competitive program.
Very competitive.
Yeah, and
we
so
only
like
accept
64.
Yeah.
Mhm. So like first year, and it's all about your GPA. So we're all just like busting our butt trying to make sure we can get into this program.
Yep.
And
'Cause we had 120-ish
yeah,
apply, I think.
yeah. So around half get in.
Yeah, but the program so far has been amazing. Honestly,
Yeah.
best decision I have ever made. It has definitely changed my life for the better, and I'm so glad that I found architecture and actually took the leap and did it because, like, I would not rather be doing anything else. It's amazing. I have so much fun, and like school is actually fun.
Yeah.
And that's never been the case. Like,
Right.
I've always been bad at school, but now I'm sitting pretty at a high 3.0 average. So like, which is weird for me, but
Well, I know that's the same as like our professors literally tell us that if you sketch while listening to a lecture it helps you remember things better. They're like, so yeah, sketch,
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I used to get in trouble for
Yeah.
doodling and doing that.
Right. And
Right.
you know, architecture is just such a different style of program.
Oh yeah.
Sure, we have tests and stuff like now we're getting more into that where when we had structures and right now we have control systems and materials, like stuff like that. Like, we do have tests, but
Mhm.
like this is stuff we're all interested in, and so it's like actually fun to learn about.
Yeah.
And as far as our big classes like studio, we're just working on a project. Like that's not normal school.
No.
And so like my mind I think is just catered perfectly for this because like some people are really good at school, math, studying, whatever. I'm terrible. So it really has to be something I'm like extremely interested in, or else you'll lose my attention immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same. And yeah, like studio typically is 3 days a week for like 3 hours or 3.5 hours, something like that
Yeah.
each day. And so you have like 9 hours of just like in your space working with all your your friends around and stuff. And
Not anymore,
Not-
but
I just said
As long as you're
usually,
not in a
Yes.
pandemic. Yeah.
yeah, because like Andrew, where are you currently at? So that's why.
Right now, I am in Bismarck. I've got a job with the North Dakota State Lab.
Mhm.
So I'm working and going to school remotely.
Yep,
Yeah, and this year it's pretty much
all remote.
all remote. Like
Mhm.
we could they're doing a high flex system where you can choose to go to class, and then they have like cameras displaying the professors or whatever. So you can still go to class for some of them.
Yeah.
Right.
But nobody's really going because there's not much of a point. Like it's all online anyway.
It's just like a large Zoom. It's like you're just sitting there and
Right.
watching a big screen Zoom.
Yeah, you're just watching a screen in a classroom. Like, what's the point in going
Yeah.
then? Like, there's no benefit right now. So, and that's kind of where we're all sitting right now. Studio is changing a little bit slowly to
Yep.
where you can actually go to studio, but you only have certain days that you can go, or you can sign up for different times to go to studio. We haven't really done that yet, mostly because last week we tried.
Yeah.
But
we
the
don't.
desk setup is weird, and I don't think
Like,
anybody
our-
got the right memo because like our desks were taken.
Yeah.
So-
Like, and they weren't even like really our desks, like where they're supposed to be. But like,
right.
yeah,
Yeah, sure. And so
Felt
we were
very
just like trying to
unwanted.
figure that out, and we were sitting there for like half an hour. Like, well, we don't like we think these are our desks, but there's some people's stuff on there.
Yeah.
So we just ended up not doing that. And
yeah. And I mean, honestly, with how busy it is in third year right now, because we're NDSU is an accelerated program, so you get your master's in 5 years.
Yep.
So it's pretty busy, but right now in third year, with how busy it is, honestly, it's nice not having to go from classroom to classroom and like all these like.
right.
There's parts of it that working from home is kind of nice, except for studio. I miss studio.
Yeah. Studio is the biggest one. Like I don't care if any of the other classes are online.
Mhm.
Whatever, like do it online, but like studio is the big one where I think everybody's like really bummed about.
Yep.
Because me personally, I love being in person. I love walking around, seeing like what other people are working on, and usually I just go up and talk to someone and ask them about their project. And then a
Yeah.
lot of the times, like they'll ask me a question. They're like, "Oh, like what do you think about this?" And I'll give them my opinion. I was like,
Oh yeah.
and I love doing that. And same for other people. People will come up to my desk and be like, "Oh, like show me your project." And I was like, "Okay, yeah," and I'll run them through it. And I'll be like, I have this one thing that I'm not really sure about. Like maybe you can point it out for me. Or a lot of the times I'll actually ask you or Andrew
Yeah.
directly. But if someone
Right.
comes up, I'll just ask them as well, just for another input. So
Well, it's what's
that's
nice
the biggest thing
too.
about studio is just it's so interactive.
Mhm.
And like even with your professors, like they'll be walking around and you can get direct feedback from them right there, and it's
Yep.
a lot harder now. So
It is. And what's nice too is when you're in studio is you always have someone around that may know a program better than you that you can
definitely
ask this question to.
yep.
That's huge, and it's so
Like-
much harder now.
Tanner and Ian, you guys are pretty good at Revit. Like me, it's SketchUp,
SketchUp.
which I need to change. I have had a lot of questions from people about SketchUp though,
Yeah.
and I helped a lot of people with it. But I definitely need to dive into Revit more, and I know that. So
And like, yeah, like for me, I need to dive in more to Rhino. And
that too.
yep.
Yeah.
But then like
I do
Andrew,
love
like you're our go-to for like Inventor and things like that too. Like
Yeah, those programs aren't very helpful in the architecture setting.
They're I mean, they are helpful in certain situations.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
in some situations. What really helps is
We're trying to build you up here, Andrew. Take it.
yeah. Hang on, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. What really
Getting
helps
there.
a lot
Okay.
of the like the functions in like Rhino, for instance, like a sweep function in Rhino is also called the sweep in Inventor.
Sure.
So
Mhm.
just like no one would ever know what a sweep function would do.
Yeah, now
Once
that I
you
think
learned
about it,
it.
Rhino and Inventor are decently similar.
They're
Obviously
pretty
there are
close, yeah.
differences, but
Mhm.
some basics are pretty similar. Because I've used Inventor a minimal amount, like
Same.
here and there, mostly for like 3D model projects.
Mhm.
I know I used Inventor for my first year
Yeah,
model.
Yeah, I was jealous. I
Yeah,
didn't.
it was a nightmare to figure out because I 3D printed my whole model.
Well, you and Andrew were the 3D printing machines first year, when I'm like, man, I have to do everything by hand, and you guys are 3D
Yeah.
printing stuff. And then I find out that they have 3D printers that they purchase and at their home.
Yeah. Or sorry, that was the first project for second year, not first year.
But first year, you guys
Yeah.
did use 3D printers. I
We
remember
did,
Andrew
yeah.
made us a dome.
Yep.
Yep.
Andrew
I've
definitely
actually
did.
got. I don't think there was a single project during first year.
The camera's going on the fritz again.
There you go.
There you go. I don't think there's a single project from the first year that I could use a 3D printer and I didn't use a 3D printer.
Right. No, yeah.
I think there was everything. So one of them that like I really kind of made up a way to use my 3D printer was when we did our little cube project and we had to
Right.
assemble these cubes and make a space.
Yep.
Cheater.
And then no, I did that. And
You did it out of
mind
the
you,
wood cubes, right?
I did. I used the wood cubes,
Yep.
Okay.
and mine got a ton of praise because I filled in the cracks with wood fill. I sanded the shit out
Hey, I
of
did it too.
and I painted it like 6
You sanded it
times.
way better than I did, though. Mine's
I did.
Mine's
I
not
did
here.
a ton of post processing on that.
Yeah.
But then we needed to scale it up, and I had built it out of like I kind of framed out the whole thing, almost like if you were building a house, you frame it out first,
Mhm.
and then I 3D printed my walls.
Oh
if
yeah,
you
you
will.
3D printed those panels on there. I remember that.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, and
And,
that saved me a ton of time, and it helped.
Because
with,
you
like,
did that rather
aesthetics
than
a
using
bunch.
the wood, right?
Correct.
Also, or whatever it was
Yep.
that we were using.
Instead of making the cuts. And
Mhm.
yeah. So yours was just a white.
Well, no.
Wood-
So he had the sticks. He had the frame, all the framing.
Ah.
But then for the flat surfaces, he used 3D printed
Interesting.
Panels. Yeah.
materials.
Nice.
Yeah, panels.
Did you have HF for that project?
I had.
No, we had.
The guy?
No. That was her.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was second semester.
No, that was first semester.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. No,
No,
it
the
was.
cube was second semester,
was-
wasn't it?
It was second semester.
Really?
Yeah.
It was
Because
like
we were
the
in the- we were
first
s- in-
project.
Well, first semester was pretty much all drawing. We didn't do any mod.
Oh, that's true. And I forgot because we were in the same studio second semester. That's how
Yes.
we met. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't remember that one though. I don't know why.
I remember it.
Mine had
Yeah.
moving parts.
That's right. We were all just like
You're-
Tanner second year project or second semester projects first year were like mind blowing to us.
well,
I
yeah.
remember.
Your
Like,
pavilion,
what
right?
cool thing is Tanner gonna do this time? Like, show us all up.
The,
Oh yeah, my pavilion.
Yeah,
or the
that was-
continual delay, right? Is that
yeah.
the continual delay project? We had to hide like a 18-foot 2x4 from.
Oh, dude, I hated my
EA's
continued delay
team.
project.
Isn't that
I remember
the one?
the.
Oh, the pavilion was the one with the star.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
And we were all like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
Wait,
Basically,
What
How
was
are
it
we
again?
supposed to-
Why don't you describe it?
so basically the pavilion, as you'd approach it, you'd be approaching it coming. It's kind of like in a bowl, so you're coming down a hill, and when you're coming down, as you see the pavilion, you actually are seeing it. The roof, it looks like a star, and then from a plan view looking down, it looks like a star. And then as you go in there, and it's kind of interactive. So as you go down, it's on a mound and it's cut out inside. So as you go down under the pavilion, there's actually a flag that there's like a grate above you, and when the sun shines the right way, the shadow is the United States flag.
Yeah.
And it was called like Patriot Pavilion or whatever,
Yeah,
something like that.
something like that.
And it was like you'd learn about the original 13 colonies and things like that, and it was just it played with
ridiculous, like way over the top from anybody else.
And then
Everybody else literally just slapped on a structure, and they're like, "Cool," you know.
because the shadow even like cast
Yeah,
like a star
and
and
we're all
stuff.
like watching his presentation. We're like, "Are you kidding me right now? Like,
and then
what is happening?"
and then as soon as I had a door that was like a sliding door on it. That
Yeah.
like as soon as I did that, everyone was like,
functional sliding door on his model, by the way. And we're like, "Come on, man." Needless to say, he got an A on that project, but
Yeah.
I did.
I think I put up a good fight. I think I put up a good fight with my lighting.
that was the one like the puzzle.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep. So
Yep, that was cool.
mine I did a the idea was like a semi-translucent bulb that was in the shape of an LED, and then this 2x4 would come.
yeah, that was your final
Down.
project, right?
Yeah, it was
Oh
the.
yeah. That was
Oh,
the
Yep.
It wasn't.
He
the
was talking
pavilion.
about his pavilion project.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
But anyways, you can still describe it if you want.
So
Yeah.
okay, so it was the 2x4 had to come down through this bulb, and the idea of the project was that you couldn't see all of the 2x4 from any one angle.
Continual delay.
Continual delay. So the 2x4 came down and it looked like a lead on an LED. And then I had put LEDs inside, and then you can see them light up through this semi-translucent bulb. So it was like the LED was lighting up.
Yep.
And there was a puzzle to get inside. So you had to solve this puzzle, and it was a little circuitry puzzle. So you had to connect the paths in the right way. Otherwise, it would either show red or orange, which meant you were close, and then green meant you had it figured out.
Right.
And the idea was that once you had that path figured out, the door to this bulb would unlock, and then you could go in and see the rest of this 2x4.
Yours
But
was very creative. Like,
It was when I saw that I was like, dang. like,
everything up himself. I'm like,
I'm
God,
going to bed.
yeah, I needed to step up my game from your
after seeing Tanner's
after
pavilion,
seeing Tanner's
because that was the
pavilion,
second
yeah.
to last project, I think.
That's right.
It was. Yep, it was.
Because we had 3. I think
Mhm.
it was 3 total. It was the cubes, pavilion, and then
And
the final.
I wanted to. She wouldn't let me. But for the continued delay, I bought a pump, a water pump, and I was gonna set it up so we're like this. Actually, like it's for a fountain that you like
Oh,
use
wow.
outdoors.
Mine had a fountain, or it was a water wall kind of.
Well, and that's what I was gonna
Yeah.
use real water.
Not a
and-
functional one. Just painted on. It was blue paint.
that was cool though.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is she scratched like or she was like nope, can't do that. And I don't think she knew I was going to use real water because I was going to direct the path so it like would do the
Sure.
continued delay. She's
Sure.
like water's too easy. I'm like, what is it? What is
But
it?
is it though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But real water?
Yeah. Have you ever used real water?
Yeah.
Like
So
it's in a
needless to
toilet?
say, first year, all of these guys had better projects than mine. Mine were
No.
simple. Mine looked
Yeah,
like the
no, I
Washington,
wouldn't.
except crooked.
It's like the leaning tower of the Washington Monument.
Yeah, no,
I wouldn't say.
I liked mine.
Yeah, I wouldn't say ours were better. They were
No.
definitely
They're
more
they're
technically
extremely
challenged.
different.
Yeah.
All of our projects were extremely, and somehow, like for my pavilion, like she really liked it, and I was like, really? I was like, I didn't think it was that great.
What
But I
one was
mean,
your
like
pavilion
when
again,
I
Tyler?
like
Yeah, what was
described
yours?
when I described the process of like how I came up with the shape, is so like detailed because I changed it so
I
many
remember.
times.
Yes. Yep. I remember
So
that.
I
I took
remember
it
your
like from a
pavilion now.
plan view is what I did from top down, and I just did sketches of like boxes and like rearranging the boxes and stuff like that. And then kind of what I did was like try and split them up different ways. And so I just kind of drew lines to try and split these boxes up whichever way I wanted to, really. And my original idea was I was going to have the pavilion like integrated in the land. Then I kind of just decided it wouldn't quite work the way I wanted it to. And so I came up with that, split them how I wanted to. Then I cut out these pieces from the wood. And I was like, well, now I have all these different pieces. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to layer them different heights. And then I actually angled them in and out and like different
remember
ways
that.
like that. And then the siding for the pavilion was all just like wood slats. So it was kind of, and I made it like really tall to scale wise to kind of like, I kind of like tied it into, you know, the old like Greek Colosseums and stuff like that, with almost like a field of pillars. Obviously they're wood slats, but just how tall they were, and like, you know, all the different like pillar type deals walking
Yep,
in,
the
like,
columns.
and during my presentation I think I described like I love when you just like walk into a structure or like a building and you just look up,
Yeah.
like, you know, just super tall. I love tall, like, so my apartment right now is actually 13-foot high ceilings, so I love it.
You run into walls a lot though. You're always looking up.
Yeah, I know, right?
No,
No,
because
'cause, like-
face looks the way it does.
Yeah, right. Yeah. My face isn't bad.
You said I can't talk poorly about other people. You never
can't
said
talk-
I
Okay,
can.
you can talk poorly about me. I'll take it. But yeah, I mean, like when I visited Europe, I would just think about that. You know, just these extremely tall.
Yeah.
You know, you walk into a church or you walk
Yes. Those
into,
cathedrals.
yeah, the cathedrals, and just insane. And you look up, you're like, oh my god, like, and like that's what I wanted to do. So I made it like 20 feet tall or some ridiculous number. No, it was probably like 30.
30. I think yes. I
30
remember
feet
that.
tall. And so the way I orientated the roofs too, like it didn't close off any part of it. So it was still open. It would shine light through different spots, and then the wood slats would shine, you know, a pattern of light across. So like during the day, it would just change at all times.
And you're
So-
hearing us talk about all the light. It was a daylight pavilion, so we had to do stuff with
Exactly. Yep.
shadows, manipulating
Yep.
light, indirect and direct. Yeah,
Yep.
it was fun.
Exactly. And you know, I think I just explained it really well, and that's why she ended up liking it.
Sure.
But
Yep. Oh, that's another thing too. If you ever get a question from a professor or from a classmate that's like, you know, why'd you do this in your design? And you're like, you know, honestly, I have no idea why I did this. I just did it. If you can find a good
don't
way,
say that.
no,
No,
you
don't say
gotta
that.
learn how to
Pull
BS.
it out of your butt.
If
Promise,
you-
it'll work.
If you can BS well, oh yeah, like I had that happen second year. We're presenting to fifth
definitely.
year, like the seniors, and like in their masters, and they went through, and one of them was like, "Why'd you decide to build your building all this material?" And I was like, in my head, I'm thinking, no reason. And
Like, I just thought it looked good.
I'm like, I liked it. So I was like, I really wanted to work with thermodynamics. So the reason I did this is because in the summer it feel cooler, and then winter it'll hold the heat and be warmer. She's like, that is awesome. That was such a good design. I'm like, thank you. I know. I really thought this through. And I was like, woo, that was close.
Honestly, it's so true. You can get away, like, if like ideally if you can like think through your
Yes.
project and be like, okay, like, is someone going to ask this? Is someone going to ask that? And have an answer for it. But
Yes.
obviously, there's going to be questions that come up that you're like, and like, just don't freak out. Just kind of think to yourself, I was like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
And you can just
Right.
like elaborate more on it, not just like, oh, it looks good.
Yeah,
You
don't
know,
ever
right.
ever say I don't know.
Just
Don't
like,
ever say I don't
or like, yeah, don't say I don't know. And then, just say, don't say like, oh, it looks good, or like
And sometimes
good or something.
sometimes that meaning comes later. Sometimes you can do
Mhm.
things just because
Exactly,
you
yeah.
like them, and then later you can figure out
Why you like
how
it.
because
Right.
there's something in that project that's meaningful to you, and when you figure out why that is, and sometimes it just takes that right question from somebody, but when you figure it out, it's like,
Right,
oh yeah,
definitely.
like this is why I wanted to do it. So one of the things that last year when we had to do our shelters, all three of us got assigned shelters for rape and abuse crisis, for the Rape and Abuse Crisis Center, and um, for some reason I wanted a building that had a curve to it, and I needed to accommodate kind of a smaller space on the bottom, so I kept it square on the bottom, and the building swept. I used the sweep function, and
You used Rhino for that?
uh, yeah, I think I
For
did
the
use
exterior, at
I
least?
think I for some of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, that or I used Inventor, one of the two, and honestly, it was probably
I feel
Inventor.
like you did use Rhino. I don't know why I think, or maybe you tried it in Rhino. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
So
anyways,
the top of the building, it kind of it expanded out towards the front, and it kind of created a bowl, kind of a bowl effect on the top, but it was square on the bottom.
mhm.
And like after looking at it for a while, like I realized that they were kind of like angel wings, protecting
Mm.
over the people inside and giving them
Mhm.
a safe place to be.
Yep.
So sometimes you do things and you're not really sure why, but later on when it comes to you, it's like, oh yeah, like that's what was in my head this whole time.
Yeah.
I just didn't realize it.
Yeah, definitely. And then like ideas like that come up all the time,
Yeah.
like later on in your project. Like
Yeah.
even for, for mine, the same project. I had a weird, so what we wanted to do, it was a group project, and so on our site that we had, we wanted the walking path going diagonally through the site. So it left me with a really weird shape to work with for my building. And so it was like a triangle. And I wanted it to, make it a little more interesting than just a triangle, because when you're walking outside, you're just going to see a flat wall.
Mhm.
It's not going to look like a triangle. And so what I did was on each floor, I changed the size of the floor and the orientation to make it just a little more interesting. And it wasn't until I was coming up with my presentation board where I was like, I need a name for this. And so Andrew and I, like literally all night, was working on my project board the night before, so it wasn't due the next day, thankfully. We had planned it out a little bit better.
Yeah, we did manage
Usually
our
doesn't
time better
happen,
that one.
but I was happy we did it that way. And so I came up with the name Clean Slates because it looked like slates, just different layers. And the clean part came from Rape and Abuse Crisis Center. People go there to try and forget about what happened, to try and start new. When they leave there, hopefully they'll find a place or somewhere to go.
Yep.
It's just like, wiping the slate clean. And so that literally came up like the week of the presentation being like, I had no thought or intention of naming it something like that, but
It's completely true. I mean, you'll have ideas that come to you while you're making something, or all of a sudden something will just click and go, "This is
Yeah.
why I need to do this," or "This is what it
Definitely.
needs to be called," or whatever it may be. But I personally hated my shelter. I hated it.
I didn't hate it. I liked it.
I don't know. It was different. I wanted to try something a little different than what I've tried, and I mean,
Yeah.
which I think is important, especially during school. You're gonna have projects that you're not as big a fans of
Yeah.
and so for me, I wasn't a big fan of my shelter. I hope the people that would live there would be.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I
Why
wasn't a
don't you
huge
explain
fan
it
of
for
like
us, Tanner? Why don't explain your
It's a very heavy building. So I wanted it to feel like it was a very secure and safe building. And so by doing that, I wanted the front facade basically to look like it's all glass, but to be very like tinted, like either like kind of like a dark blue. And then um so basically you can't see in on any of the windows, you can't see into this building. I mean, like on the ground floor and everything, you can't see into it, but you can see out fine. And then the front was actually these balconies that you could go out onto, but they're fully enclosed. So if you're someone that has gone through, something like this, and you're in a rape and abuse crisis center, that you can go out onto your balcony, and if you don't want to be, you know, out there for everyone to see, you don't have to be, but if you wanted to, you could slide open these glass panels and then kind of have the outside feel. And then there was a rooftop green space where if you wanted to be actually outdoors but not be around really other people as much, you could go up there and feel safe and secure. And so, but it was just a very simple shape. I mean, it was a very simple, like, I don't know. It
not
was just
crazy enough for you, huh?
I think that's what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Like, I feel like,
And sometimes like that's just how it works. Like there's not a whole like a lot of times like there's not a whole lot you can do with it, you know.
yeah, and that's the thing is, I think
And that's where I think you really need to focus on like exterior and interior like design, I suppose.
yep.
If your shape isn't what you want it to be, like make
Well,
it look nice.
And
you
I think
know?
that's the thing is, like, with the exterior, like, what I tried doing with it, like, I tried some different things and, maybe I tried some different things with it, and I think if I had implemented them better and done more with the design, it could have worked. But it just seemed very out of place. Like, you had the square building with the front that had this kind of like this almost like cantilever slash canopy that was like almost like in the shape of an F going over this building and through the building, like through the square. But that was basically it. The rest of the building didn't have much to it, and so it just kind of was awkward.
Sure.
So
I want to clarify for something in case anybody's listening to this. When Tanner said that he didn't want anybody to see into the building, even on the ground floor, the first thing you probably thought was, "Well, duh." But what you missed of the project is it was a mixed use project. So the ground floor was actually retail space. It wasn't for residents to live in.
Is that how you designed yours too? Was the main floor retail?
I designed my main floor like my building was completely separate from every other building. You had to have like it was secure access. And because of the kind of building it was and how people would be coming and going there, that I designed the main floor not as a retail space, but as like a community space for the people in there. So like it had like a cafe down there. It had
but only for the residents.
It was only for the residents. It had like a gym, it had a counselor's office, it had a daycare, and then it had like a kind of like a piano like lounge kind of feel to it. And every person that worked there, whether they were working as like a barista or whoever in the cafe, everyone was a trained counselor that could help talk to people.
That's good.
So and
that's how I designed mine too. Technically, we were supposed to have that main level be purely multi-use for the public, but Tanner and I had the same idea. Yours was multi-use on the main floor, right?
Yeah. My resident entrance and public entrances were separated.
Okay, yeah. So Tanner and I both kind of just went with the idea that this building is completely separate from everything else because we want these people to feel safe and feel. I mean, the way Andrew did it worked perfectly too.
Yes,
but that's just the thought that we had, and we just decided to roll with it. But yeah, like my building that I designed only had one entrance, and then secure access.
Same.
So
One thing,
and that's
one
really
thing that I
something.
want to
Yeah.
go ahead and finish, Tucker.
Oh, and with this project, there's a lot of considerations you have to take into account, especially for the building that we were designing. And so
Yes.
there is a lot of time just thinking of like what we need to implement within these designs.
Yes.
That was a pretty challenging one, in my
And
opinion.
especially it was right when we went to distance learning, and we had to work
Yes.
collaboratively
Yep.
at a distance for the first time, and everyone's trying to figure this out. And yeah, it was tricky, but we did it.
Was,
What were you
yeah.
going to say, Andrew?
One thing that I really want to emphasize with everybody who is thinking about going into architecture, who is already in architecture, you think about the process of how people use your building, on how
Mhm.
people circulate through your building. I think it's something that's missed quite a bit.
It's honestly an art form.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Figuring out
one
how people-
example that I can think of, and again, I won't say any names, but they had the exact same project that we did, and so
I think I know who you're talking about.
the entrance into this, you walked into kind of a reception area, which is fine, great, but then to go into the resident part, you had to pass through this screening area where they had hospital beds, and then you had to go through the cafeteria, and then you finally got to the staircase that led up to the.
It's
and
just a bad layout.
It was
Just did not work
just-
at all.
You have to think about people's privacy in those situations. That screening room where these people are getting checked out, if they're in there, these they don't want to be. They don't want that to be a public thing. They
Right.
don't.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and if
what's
you
being
think about
talked
it, even
in there, it should be a very private thing, and so to have to go through that area to get to where you need to go to live, you just have to really think about how people are affected by your design.
definitely.
And that process of how the people use your building
Yep.
is part of how it affects them.
That's why people pay us. Well, not yet.
Yeah.
But to think about those things.
That's
No,
why
definitely,
people
Andrew.
pay me.
That is literally one of the biggest things, one of the biggest points that you really need to dive into for architecture, in my opinion, because the way that people use your space is very important. Because if you design a space that doesn't work well, that doesn't flow well or function well, nobody's going to want to use it, right?
Yeah, you can have the best looking building in the world, but if it doesn't function, if it doesn't have good function to it,
exactly,
it's worthless.
Yep. And so like you said, that can apply to anything, really. That was just an example.
Right.
So when you think about it, let's say we designed an apartment building instead, right? Who's going to want to walk in on the main floor and have to go through a cafe or a cafeteria just to go up to their apartment?
Yep.
Right.
That makes no sense, right?
Right. If you walk by the cafeteria or by
Exactly.
the cafe,
Yeah.
that's one thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
But to have to walk through it is just an
because there's plenty of especially downtown here with the Roco buildings. They're the Roberts Commons apartments. There's all multi-use apartments. They have storefronts on the bottom. Then they have one or two accesses to actually get to the apartments, and those are completely separate.
Yep.
So that makes complete sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was honestly astonished when I saw the project. I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
I didn't think of was that my project?
Right. Were they in your
It was
section?
not yours.
Is that why you?
Yeah.
He's filtering.
They must have been.
Yeah, because
I
feel like you were the one that showed me that project.
yeah.
Now I want
They
to see
must
it.
have been. But I thought we only had. Oh no, there was four, right? There was
But also
four.
We had access to every project, so I know I went through and was looking
Yeah.
at projects. So
Yep.
that could
Which was the really cool thing with program is actually we upload everything to Google Drive. And so everybody can look at everybody's project, which is actually awesome because I love looking at other people's projects.
Same.
Because some, well, Andrew, I know why you're laughing.
Yeah, he likes to critique everyone's projects.
Yes, it's fun to go through and critique, and it's fun to go through and see like we have some people that have amazing ideas, and I'm like, wow, like literally astonished by a lot of the work of some of the people. And
some of them I'm thinking to myself, how did they get here? And then some of them I'm thinking to myself, how did I get here?
Right. Yeah,
exactly.
Honestly, I've had my projects where I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, I look at the project, I'm like, I don't know if I even thought this through.
Yeah, right.
And then people, sometimes people would be like, oh, I like it. I'm like, really? I don't. But anyways,
I think the other thing too is to have someone who can challenge you in your designing.
That guy.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah, and so Tucker and I
we all
work
complement
together.
each other pretty well.
Yeah, Tucker and I work on projects together almost exclusively, and Tanner's come over too. It's a little harder for him because he lives in Grand Forks. But most of the time, Tucker and I are working together on projects, and I know that I get frustrating for Tucker, challenging him on why is it so small, Tucker? Why give it just a little bit more space?
Because it doesn't need to be bigger. No. I would say like the biggest thing that you kind of do for me is sometimes my designs are a little crazy and I want to do something crazy, but then Andrew's like, wait, but how is that going to work?
Andrew grounds us.
Yeah, pointing something out to me, I'm like, you're right. I got to change that.
The thing is, like, Andrew, you do have like the engineering mind, and you're just like, okay, let's bring this down to a little bit more practical.
Andrew
like,
has a very technical mindset, which is really good for me to have.
And it's fine. It's fine on some projects to go all out and to dream big and to
definitely, yeah.
But when you get out into the real world, you're not going to have that opportunity. Very few architects have unlimited resources.
The really big ones.
Yeah.
Frank Gehry,
Zaha,
Zaha.
And
they have unlimited. Well, a lot of their really crazy projects, pretty much unlimited funds. Yeah. Well, and they're just like, do you?
And the thing is too is that's not the only projects they're doing. They're doing the normal projects too. But
right.
Yeah. But exactly. Like they're the kind of people they're the kind of architect that people are like.
I'd say Bjarke is a little more on the
does more of that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Bjarke does more of the projects that are like his are extremely functional and actually very well thought through. And so, in that way, they're just a little subtle compared to Gehry, which just doesn't care. Zaha, she's actually done stuff.
Yeah, Zaha's awesome.
Anyways, we're getting up there on time. It's almost an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah,
we could ramble on about things all day.
That'll give us some stuff to cut out too. And
definitely.
Yep.
But
thanks for joining us on our first episode. We'll see where this goes, and if we get some followers, that would be awesome. But
for sure,
we're just here to talk and have fun. Honestly, this is extremely fun for me, just sitting here and talking to you guys. So.
And honestly, this is what studio feels like. This actually feels like studio kind of right now.
Bouncing off ideas, different projects that we've worked on and stuff.
Yep.
Any closing remarks for you, Andrew?
I've missed our aimless conversations.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. This is nice.
I have a request that I am in on the Discords when you guys work on your projects, so I have someone to bounce it off of as well.
Okay.
I don't think we've done it yet this year because our projects are different.
Right.
Yeah, it's true.
I think only one time that we sat on Discord and talked while we were working on our project, but we didn't hardly ever say anything because projects are so different.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. Yeah.
Locavore. That's when we'll do it.
Yep.
Locavore.
Anyways.
Well, obviously because we're in the same group, so.
Sure. Well, all right. Thank you, everybody.
Yep. Thank you. We'll see you
everybody
soon.